My son was in the bus. He saw what Clark did.
You have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
There's a popular misconception about film critics that basically they all have their own pet peeves and prejudices and they like to stick to them. So they decide, for example, they like this director, they don't like that director, love this actor, hate that actor, and they're just going to stick to that line all the way through their career. And that's what they like to do. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is completely wrong. Actually, the opposite is true. As a film critic, what you want from actors, directors, producers, whatever, is for them to surprise you. See, it's one thing to find a filmmaker who you don't like. Say, oh, he made this film, she made that film, he did this, I don't like them. But what you really want is for them to do something that makes you go, oh, you know, I was wrong. Honestly, there is nothing more exciting as a film critic than being proved wrong. So, I am now waiting to see Man of Steel, which has been leading up to it for ages and ages. The trailers have been in cinemas for months and months. And as you almost certainly know, Man of Steel is directed by Zack Snyder, about whom I have been kind of rude in the past, because Zack Snyder's made a bunch of movies that I haven't really liked very much, but most notably Sucker Punch, which I absolutely hated. And I think he made a total Horlicks of Watchmen. I would have loved that film to be made by Terry Gilliam. And I've spent a lot of time on the radio saying the words Zack Snyder in what I consider to be a funny voice. Now, this means, you know, as far as the sort of received information is concerned, that I am therefore prejudiced to dislike Man of Steel. Quite the opposite's true. I really want to like Man of Steel. Not just because it's produced by Chris Nolan, and a lot of people have said, oh, well, of course Kermode's going to like it. You know, he's a Chris Nolan fanboy. Yes, I am. But I've never been a fanboy for Zack Snyder. But what I really want is for Zack Snyder to prove me wrong, to do something really interesting with Superman, to do something really unexpected. And there's loads of precedences for this. I mean, for example, think of the career of Guy Ritchie. I mean, I hated Guy Ritchie's movies. I remember reviewing Revolver and saying that at one point I was sitting in the balcony in the cinema and I actually considered throwing myself over the balcony to make the experience end sooner. I think it was a terrible director. I was incredibly rude about his films. And then, out of nowhere, he made the really rather good Sherlock Holmes movie and then the really rather good Sherlock Holmes sequel. And there was nothing gave me greater joy than being able to go on the radio and go, you know what, I never expected this of Guy Ritchie, but Guy Ritchie has made a great movie. Just a couple of years ago, we were all in the habit of referring to Matthew McConaughey as Matthew Mahogany. He was the person who turned up in lousy rom-coms, always leaning against something, always in a film which, you know, you didn't enjoy, you didn't like, it let you down, it was depressing, he became a standing joke. Then suddenly, Killer Joe, Magic Mike, Mud, films which reminded you what you liked about him all those years ago when he started out in one of those Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequels. And that was really exciting. You know, people still remember that I used to refer to Keira Knightley as IKEA Knightley, a nickname, incidentally, which I didn't come up with. One of the listeners to the radio show did. And it's true, I was really rude about her performances in films like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but the last few years, I think she's been great. I thought she was really good in Anna Karenina. I thought she was really, really good in A Dangerous Method, the David Cronenberg film. I mean, the film was far from perfect. It had many flaws, but none of those flaws were Keira Knightley's performance. I think she's a really, really fine actress, but people still remember that I was rude about her in the past. As far as Zack Snyder is concerned, I'd love Man of Steel to be the film that can make me put that silly voice away once and for all. See, film criticism is not to do with saying the same thing over and over again, or at least it shouldn't be, because it's boring, not just for you, but for me. I really want Man of Steel to be good. I'll review the film on the radio show on Friday. Fingers crossed, tune in then.
That if the world found out who I really was, they'd reject me. He was convinced that the world wasn't ready. What do you think?